Greetings and good morning from the beautiful Aomori airport over here in Japan. Today I'll be flying Korean Air over to Seoul, South Korea aboard a 737-900. Now the aircraft is not quite over at the airport, but I'm all set to go. I'm just in the waiting area. And on this flight I will have a window seat towards the front, so I'm looking forward to getting some daytime views, because I've had a lot of night flights recently. And truth be told, this is a pretty small airport. It's one of the smallest international airports in Japan. And there's a separate international, well, one room, not really a terminal. All the domestic flights are actually over there. So most of the flights from this airport would be aboard Japan Airlines or ANA or one of their subsidiaries on a domestic flight. And I can see the aircraft did just arrive. And the seating area is not bad at all. All you've got here is a duty-free shop. But as with pretty much every Japanese airport I've ever been to, there are all the facilities you need, like bathroom, some water if you need that too. That's always nice. Not every country has free drinking water in the airport. And places to sit. And the aircraft got parked pretty quick because there's basically nothing going on at this airport. There's just one or two other Japan Airlines planes around. And while I wait to board, just one quick thing about how much I paid for this flight. I paid 7,500 Delta Sky Miles plus about $8 in taxes and fees, which is incredibly low for an international 2-hour flight between Japan and Korea. In fact, as far as redemption flights go, that was the absolute best deal I could find. American Airlines was charging more like 12,500 American miles, United Airlines about the same, and cash prices from the smaller airport that I wanted to fly from were at least like $150. So an award flight seemed like the best way to go with this one. And it's worth noting that you could have booked business in this for 15,000 Delta Sky Miles. But honestly, on this narrow body aircraft where the seats are very similar in the front and in the back, and the service doesn't differ that much for a 2-hour flight, I thought I'd just stick with economy and give you a look into the economy flight experience, which is what most people will end up experiencing. But as it turns out, this flight is actually 1 hour late, meaning that our boarding should have started 2 minutes ago at 12:10, but it's 12:12 already. So hopefully we will be boarding soon. I mean, the aircraft has been here for about 20 minutes, and usually in Japan, 20 to 30 minutes is all it takes to get everybody off, clean it, and get the new flight's customers back on. All the crew just came running over, so I'm assuming that means boarding's about to start. Thank you. Thank you so much. Slightly confused by that announcement, if they were actually boarding or just lining us up. Turns out they were actually boarding and I was first in line, so I just stood there for a good 15-20 seconds, confused. That just happens to me sometimes in Japan. But such a lovely country, regardless of not always understanding everything. But here we are, and this jet bridge is very cool. It's like vintage, I guess I'd call it similar to Amtrak or something. Nice steel windows with a kind of round square shape, what do you call that? And the final part of the jet bridge here is a red carpet. So even though I'm just flying economy class today, they wrote out the red carpet for me over here in Aomori, and we're about to board. So let's see what this flight is like. I must say I've heard pretty good things about Korean Air. So I'm also interested to see how it compares to Asiana, which I flew last week.
Thank you for making work hard, sir.
Thank you. Hi. Cheers. 29F. Thank you. And here you can see the business class seats that I could have booked for just double the amount of Sky Miles. But I took a pass on that one. Not a hard pass or anything. Oops. And I've already passed my seat. 29F it's going to be. And I did a little bit of shopping in Japan, so I can't fit everything in my bag anymore. But luckily there's plenty of overhead space, and I've got my window seat over here. Not bad. And I've got a pretty good first impression here now. The aircraft is definitely very spotless clean. They did a good job cleaning it fast after what I didn't realize was an hour late arrival. But the legroom here is super tight.
For your safety, keep your seatbelt fastened while resting. Please enjoy your flight.
But boarding was pretty quick, and soon enough the crew was able to go through the safety announcements. They also hand out landing cards for South Korea along with a pin if you need one, which is a nice touch. And we've just pushed back away from the airport. This is a tiny airport, by the way, so there will be no line for takeoff or anything like that. But we seem to just be sitting for a few minutes, perhaps waiting for the final word from air traffic control, and we should be off soon. Hopefully not all that delayed in the end, even though this aircraft was around an hour late coming in. And just another aspect of the beauty of the culture over here in Japan. As you leave, you will always be bowed to aboard your plane and waved goodbye. Bid farewell, perhaps. And it looks like we got the okay from air traffic. We're heading on over, but just check out that bridge and how beautiful the nature over here in this northern part of Honshu in Japan is. I have super high expectations for these takeoff views today. But while we head to the runway, let's just take a very quick look at the in-flight entertainment. They do have in-flight entertainment on this 737-900. But the in-flight entertainment system is a little bit on the old side and not super reactive to the touch. Nevertheless, there's a decent selection of movies and some shows and stuff like that for a 2-hour flight. For a 12-hour flight, that'd be a different story. But of course, we're just flying on this narrow body, so it's all good. And just the fact that you have a screen for entertainment on a 2-hour flight is always a plus in my opinion. Plus there's a USB port, controls for the in-flight entertainment, and we've just made our turn to the final runway to take off. An insanely beautiful takeoff. We just crossed that little bit of land that is Japan, and now we're cruising along the west coast of Japan. And the very second we hit 10,000 feet, that seatbelt sign came right off. And one weird thing has happened since I boarded this airplane. I watched the seating chart for days, checking it basically every day for the last week, including about maybe an hour before takeoff. And the thing is, these seats here were full, and the seats over there were also full. But upon boarding, I can see that there are a ton of empty seats on this plane. And I suppose it could be possible that since I only hold Elite Plus status from an airline that's not Korean, they block off some of the seats only for status holders with Korean. But the thing is, in this same row on the other side, those 3 seats were occupied and now they're completely empty. So maybe with the delay, some people got rebooked or something. But to me, that doesn't even make sense. I really can't figure out what happened here just because it was only like a 20-minute delay in boarding and we're almost going to be on time. But it looks like service will probably start soon, just considering it's a short flight. And even though the premium section of the airplane looks to be totally empty, they did put those curtains or dividers. And if I do see another flight attendant pass by, I might just kindly ask if I can't move over to that bulkhead seat on the other side of the plane. Though the views from this side of the plane so far have been really quite impressive. Now, not that this is any kind of comparison video between economy on Asiana and economy on Korean, but I did fly economy on Asiana just last week, and the headphones they handed out over there were really bad. These look a lot better, so I'm going to give those a try in just a minute with the IFE. And bam, I'm in a new seat.
Chicken and rice.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
Vodka, something drink, sir.
Could I have that guava juice, please? Thank you. Kamsahamnida. And your mileage may definitely vary with changing seats when there's empty seats on board an aircraft, but it's worth asking if the flight attendants don't seem too busy, and in this case they didn't seem overly busy, and they were happy to let us change actually. But now I'll be sitting in the aisle seat, my wife's got the window, and just as fast as I was able to change seats, meal service started, and I mean Korean food on board an airplane, I'm always game. And the chicken and rice that they're serving here looks to be like a teriyaki chicken, so let's give that a try. And this is probably the first time I've ever seen an airline serving a meal with bamboo cutlery. That's kind of cool. Well, let's see. Chicken and rice. Or if you're from New York, you might call this chicken over rice. And they have a nice drink available of guava juice, which I believe is the same guava juice you can get on board Hawaiian Airlines, if I'm not mistaken. It tastes the same anyway, it's very nice. And I had assumed this is like a Japanese rolled egg or something, but actually it's just a piece of pineapple, plastic wrapped. Plus, I'm not 100% sure if this was supposed to be an appetizer or a dessert, but it's like a sweet potato salad. And it is kind of fun that they serve their hot Korean pepper paste in what looks like a toothpaste bottle. And for a shorter flight, that economy lunch was actually pretty satisfactory, I have to say. There was one strange thing I did notice about it though, and I mean, I'm just observing this here, but they seem to just throw everything into one giant trash bag, yet what they serve in their meals is kind of looks like it should be recyclable or eco-friendly or that kind of stuff. So I wonder if they don't sort out stuff in that trash bag or something, though I would hate to have that job. If not, though, it seems like the airline might want to just rethink what they're doing with packaging of the meals. You know, maybe not individually vacuum packing one individual piece of pineapple, stuff like that. And this is a little bit random, but before my flight, I was sitting at the bus stop to take the airport bus over to the airport, of course, and I met a pretty nice old lady that gave me the biggest apple I've ever seen in the entire world. because Aomori is known for its apples, but apparently it's also known for having giant apples. And this is like the size of a larger grapefruit, so I've got to eat that before I get to Korea because you can't bring fresh fruits or vegetables into Korea. This is basically man versus apple right here. This is like eating 4 apples. But after that extravaganza and lunch, I definitely need to go over to the bathroom just to freshen up a bit and show you what the bathroom on board the 737-900ER looks like. And here we are in the 737-900 bathroom, which is an older one, but it's kind of nice too. See what they've got over here. There's some air freshener. Oh, and some lotion. I really like when airlines, even on short haul routes, will have some lotion on the plane, just because airplane air can be very dry and it dries my hands out. But other than that, with the exception of a little bit of water that's on the floor, this bathroom is pretty sparkling clean. And for the narrow body plane that this is, there's plenty of space in this bathroom. And now for a little lotion, because why not? Smells vanilla-y, but with a little over an hour left in flight, we'll be descending pretty soon, so I'll head back to my seat. So I've still got time for a little bit of coffee. But it seems like what happened with seat selection on this flight is that was the first time I ever flew a Delta Redemption aboard Korean Air, and I think the deal is that you get some seats you can just book for free. But then other seats can't be booked at all. You can't pay to book them like other customers that might have booked cash fares, for example, with Korean Air would be able to. But there's a chance that if I had actually called into the Korean Air call center, then they would have told me, okay, you can pay X amount of money just to sit in those seats. But the meal service did start really quick, and plus switching seats meant I didn't really have quite enough time to take a thorough look at everything to do with technology aboard this flight. And the thing is, they don't have any Wi-Fi installed. So for me personally, that's quite okay on this regional 2-hour flight. But if you're expecting Wi-Fi aboard a shorter Korean Air flight, do know that at least some aircraft won't be equipped with any Wi-Fi connections. But they kind of make up for it with having pretty nice onboard entertainment, and they actually have a magazine, which many airlines have just gotten rid of completely, or never had in the first place, of course. And this is quite the Inflight magazine, actually. Most beautiful stations around the world. I think I'll read that, and then we'll probably start descending. So I am wondering if the person who wrote this article has ever actually been to Union Station in Los Angeles. It's definitely not the most beautiful train station in the world. Not even the most beautiful in the US. That's Grand Central Station in New York City. And we've just started a descent down to Incheon Airport, and the views are pretty spectacular today here, too. But let's sum this flight up. Based on my experience here today with Korean Air, you can definitely expect really good service on board. And even though this plane did arrive around an hour late to my departure airport, it looks like I'm going to be just slightly late to Incheon. But of course, a completely on-time operation is definitely preferable. And honestly, on these routes between Japan and Korea, I would usually opt for the Japanese options of JAL or ANA versus Asiana or Korean. But on the Aomori to Seoul route that I'm flying today, this is the only airline that's offering non-stop flights. And on top of that, I did have quite a few Delta SkyMiles sitting around that I wanted to use, so it was kind of a win-win situation for me. And based on this experience with Korean Air, I would definitely consider flying them again. If it were on the same route, I would almost definitely choose them, but on other routes, for example, between Korea and North America, I would also probably give them a shot. And that's especially true if I were, for example, flying from Seoul to, I don't know, Los Angeles non-stop, and the other options would only be US-based carriers, because this is definitely better than you'll find on any US-based airline. But we have nearly flown across the whole Korean peninsula on over to Incheon. So thank you so much for watching this video. Do make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.